Investigate. Analyze. Uncover.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Paranormal Prism. Tonight, I don't know why I'm doing this. I really don't. This is going to be a bad show. Tonight, I have got Paul with me. Paul is from the Paranormal Amongst Us podcast. He hasn't got his co-host with him, so anything could happen because she's not here to police him. Paul, it's been a pleasure. Bye. No, I mean, Paul, hi, welcome. How you doing, my friend?
Good, Lee. How you doing, sir? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And I promise I'll try to behave. I promise.
You know what that word try means, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And bearing in mind that you've got the same kind of mentality as Tommy and Andy,
yeah,
I know damn well you are not going to behave.
No.
No.
You know, once we get going, I'll behave. I promise. I'll try and reel it in.
Yeah, like I'm going to take this seriously. Okay, so you are part of the Paranormal Amongst Us, but we'll get onto that in a minute.
Okay.
What I'd like you to do is to go back to the very first time you either experienced something paranormal or you thought it would be something cool to look into. Basically, how did your road that you're currently on start?
Well, see, I have a red Jeep and I put the key in the ignition and I turned it and it started.
You dumbass.
That's not where you were going. Okay. No. So back in 2023, January of 23, I had knee replacement surgery. So, and I kind of promised myself that, you know, I wasn't going to sit or lay around and watch TV all the time. I was going to, you know, read, do my exercises and be more productive than just, you know, sitting around recovering, doing and watching TV. So I'm laying there doing my knee exercises, and they give you this awesome machine that bends your knee for you. You just kind of lay in bed, and man, you get a really good nap out of it. So anyway, if you have a knee replacement, I highly recommend trying to get that. Anyway, and I don't know how I got a hold of this book, but I got a book. I don't remember the name of it, but it's from an author named T. Krulos. I think he's out of Milwaukee. It was about the Mothman. So I'm reading it. And in the back of the book, it said, had his contact information, email address, and all that stuff. So I'm like, you know, and before this, I was watching the TV shows and everything about paranormal investigations and stuff. And keep in mind, at this point, I hadn't had any investigation time at all. And I really didn't know if I encountered anything paranormal or not at that point. So And I never do this. I got this guy's information and I emailed him like, oh, what the hell? And kind of go back another step. I had been podcasting for quite a long time, been doing like sports, general interest, you know, comedy stuff, everything like that. And nothing really took off. So, you know, then I'm laying there doing my exercises and stuff. And I email this guy. I'm like, you know, this is really fascinating. You got a great book. I'm really kind of thinking about getting back into podcasting again. And the paranormal really kind of strikes me. I just find it really, really interesting. And yeah, I sent it and then didn't really hear much back from him. And then one day he sent it back like, why are you thinking about it? Why don't you just do it? Okay. So it took me about a month or so to kind of get everything together, get the name, get the kind of logos and stuff. So in March of 23, I started Paranormal Among Us, and you know, it's grown and it's been, you know, fantastic, great journey. I've met a lot of great people. One day I'll introduce you to some of them.
Wow. Where's that stop button? Oh,
yeah. No, you know, it's just been an incredible journey. I've met, like I said, met so many really cool people, you included.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
Okay, you owe me money. No.
If only you meant it.
Right. Well, you know. No. And, I've had encounters along the way. I've learned a whole hell of a lot of stuff along the way. And I'm just, thrilled to death to be doing it. And this is the thing that I really didn't know. I didn't think that this was going to be the one that took off. So, and I'm very happy that it did. And, it's just, I'm having a fun ride. I can't imagine it ending anytime soon. I don't want it to end anytime soon. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Yeah. Shortest podcast ever. But yeah, the way that we actually met was absolutely bizarre because a couple of weeks ago, a mutual friend of ours, which I don't think either of us have met him in the flesh, which is probably a good thing.
No. Yeah.
Andy from Alienate UK was having, I've got no idea why he wanted to do this, 2 12-hour podcasts. And he decided to invite numerous guests, and if people could pop in over this 12 hours on the Saturday and Sunday, then they're most welcome to. And I popped on, you was already there. Mm-hmm. I think one of us must have farted or something because some of the people left quite soon after. Well,
I think after you popped on, everybody got scared and I couldn't find the exit button, so I was stuck.
Oh, that would explain it. It's like, help, I'm stuck here. And then there's us three talking, and Andy goes, oh, by the way, I'm selling my car and the guy's downstairs. Are you two okay? It's sort of like, what?
Yeah.
And it kind of just like, okay, so let's talk about each other. And then we kind of realized that we're both as mental as each other.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I was on your podcast a couple of days ago, and now I'm regretting. I'm loving the fact that you're on mine.
That was the worst rated episode that I had, actually.
Yes. Was it 3 people that listened?
I'm kidding.
3 people, and 2 of them were the co-hosts.
Right.
Like, what's that all about? So you mentioned that you started it in 2023. But you'd previously done other podcasts, so you was kind of prepared already to talk to people. But what was your first episode about? What can you remember that far ago? I know you're getting on.
Actually, yeah, I somehow I got in touch with a gal that does investigations around here, and I actually did it on a different channel called Zanzibar. It's an old Billy Joel song about a sports bar about a sports bar. I think it's in Africa or something. I don't know, but it's about a sports bar, and I love the song. And we actually, when we remodeled the house, I built the bar downstairs, and I named it Zanzibar. So anyway, that was a really long way to go for that. But I interviewed her, and just to kind of talk about ghost hunting and everything. And, that was the first one that kind of kicked it off. And, after that, I'm still in touch with her. I don't know. I don't remember who else I had after that. Like the first couple episodes I know I had that T. Krulos on shortly after I started. And then it just kind of grew from there. And then around December, November, somewhere in there, I met Krista and Brandy from Blondes and Booze podcast. And we kind of all hit it off, and I was doing more shows, and I was starting to do live shows, and it's kind of hard doing live shows where you're interviewing the guest, trying to think up questions, because I don't write anything down. I everything that I have is off the cuff and everything, so that's why I look kind of stupid sometimes. But I
not saying a word.
But Krista and I talked an awful lot, and I asked her, hey, do you mind kind of helping me co-host and stuff? And she was all for it, and she's really helped me grow. And to this day, she's my co-host on Wednesdays. I used to have a show on Saturdays, but we moved it, and now she's my co-host on Wednesdays. And still, she's a really good friend. She doesn't live that far from me, actually about 45 minutes away from me. And we do, investigations around here. We've traveled together to different locations, conferences and stuff. And, it's just neat to have, somebody close by, even though we're on here, and, I could touch you and kind of flick the screen, but I'll break the glass on it. So I don't want to do that. but we're somebody close by that, if you want to go to this location here, it's only like 10 minutes from my house. Yeah, sure. It's an hour away from me. So that's fine. We do that. And then, through her, it's this podcast has just grown quite a bit actually. So I'm pretty happy with that. So
yeah. And it's mine's a similar kind of road. I've got a buddy he does his own podcasts. I was telling him that I wanted to start doing them because we got invited onto a podcast and it kind of like wasn't very good. Let's just leave it at that. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I don't know why I've got you on, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. But I basically told myself that I could do better. Oh my God, I'm hoping that's a toy and not something else.
Yeah, it's a toy. It's a monkey.
And I basically said to him that I want to do a podcast. So he's giving me all this information. And he went, "Oh, just confirm your address for me." So, okay, so I'll confirm my... And he goes, "You're going to get something in the mail." And I'd got a USB-C USB adapter come through the mail. I thought, that's a bit random. Mm-hmm. And then 2 days later, microphone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's one of my buddies that's on my team for the Comic Cons that we do. So he gets to meet celebrities and stuff like that. And then I started off in the February of 2024, and I had a couple of episodes where, for whatever reason, it crapped out. And he said, "You need a better computer to do this kind of streaming." And then it was my birthday in June. He came down from Montreal, which is like 2-hour drive away. He says, so we went to the bar. I'll take you home because I've got something for you on the back seat. Okay. So he pulls up outside the apartment block. He opens the back door, big gaming computer.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And it's like, "Here, happy birthday." It's like, what the? He went, "Well, I can't be doing with having failed podcasts because I use his platform as well. This is his platform." And he goes, "No, I need you to be successful." So it's like,
that's awesome.
Yes, that's like, holy crap. So yeah.
Can I have his number and maybe I can?
Yeah, it's 911. But my point being is that I've got somebody there who's basically at the end of a phone because it's 2 hours away. Who, if I've got a problem, if he's not busy, he'll call me and we'll fix it together. Mm-hmm. And to have that kind of support when you're doing this is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And when I first started, I had him on a couple of podcasts and I had another friend. But then for whatever reason, they weren't available. So I thought, oh, well, okay, I'll do it by myself. But doing it by yourself, you get to ask any question you want at that precise time. You don't kind of have to, like, I don't know, text somebody and go, "Okay, you ask the next question and I'll ask the next question." So with the fact that you have a couple of shows on the go, how do you work together with your co-host? Do you have a plan, or do you know when to stop talking and your co-host to start talking, if that kind of makes sense?
Not a clue. And that that's the short answer. Yeah, we don't really have anything planned. I book all the guests. I mean, like, Krista has her own show, so she books her guests for her shows. Natalie has other guests. She helps me get some guests on the show on Tuesday nights. But pretty much it's me getting the guests and setting everything up. But when it comes to showtime, it's we just whoever has a question, and normally you can tell when the guest is finished giving the answer to whatever question was before. One of us will look like we're trying to jump forward and ready to ask the question. So we'll usually and a lot of times we sometimes step on each other's foot, and that's fine, that happens, and we just okay, you go ahead. Go ahead. So,
I do that, and I'm by myself.
I know you were on. Yeah, I remember that, and you were answering the questions.
Yes, and that's actually quite funny because I've had this guy, the guy that helped me, because he had a paranormal background as well. Mm-hmm. And halfway through, he starts asking me questions, and it's like, dude, I'm the host on this one.
I'm
Oh yeah,
asking you
sorry,
a
I
question.
forgot. Yeah, it's like, yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
And he'd completely forgot, and he thought he was interviewing, and it was like, it was so
Yeah.
funny.
And you know, it's so nice to have somebody with you on the journey who, one, you know, knows what they're doing and kind of bringing you along and helping you out. You know, Chris had never bought me a computer or a microphone or anything. I had to do all that myself. But you know, it's still just to have somebody that. Yeah. But still, you know, to have that person to, you know, kind of bounce ideas off, and you know, just to be there for guidance or whatever, and really even just to be there to be on a show with you, and just kind of, you're not in this alone.
Exactly.
And we have a group of other podcasters who's actually, it's kind of dwindling a little bit, but you know, we're all just kind of a group, and you know, we're all good friends, and you know, from different parts of the country, we've hung out once together, and you know, it's just kind of fun. We share stories, and we, you know, we share guests, we share audiences, but you know, we try not to have guests too close to each other and everything. So yeah, but yeah, it's good to have a community.
That's kind of what it's like with me, Tommy, and Andy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tommy Cullen from Let's Get Freaky podcast, and Andy, who shall not be named, from Alienate UK. Because if you've seen some of the videos, it's like, man, you're an ass. But he showed me how to do those videos now, so I'm getting my own back.
Yep.
But let's go to, you said that you've done some investigation, so let's kind of concentrate on that a little bit now. And how did your investigating come about? Was it because you were doing the podcast? Behave, keep your hand off that figure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So how did you investigate? Was it part and parcel because you were doing the podcast, or did it just someone say, "Oi, do you want to come out with this kind of thing?" Or so how did that pan out?
So again, I was with Krista and Brandy, and they had this event at a place called Ashmore Estates over in Illinois down here.
Oh yeah.
And you know, they were buying tickets or selling tickets for everything, and they wanted to have guest speakers, and they wanted me to go along with them and be a guest speaker. I'm like, I've never been a guest speaker before in my life. I don't know what in the world I'm going to talk about. So we get there, and it was me, like a psychic, and then Josh Hurd, who owns Malvern Manor in Iowa, and I think somebody else too. I don't remember. We were all giving like little speeches and stuff, and like, I am way out of my league on this one. I don't know what in the world I'm doing here. So you know, I give my talk about. I think I did the UFO crash in Cape Girardeau back in '54. I think it was before Roswell, but anyway. So she invited me to this, and it was my first investigation. I'm like, okay, this is going to be cool. So, and it was actually it might have been the first time I actually met her in person, even though we live, 45 minutes away. First time I met her in person, first time I met Brandy, first time I met a bunch of people in person. And so we do that. We do the presentations and everything, and we do dinner and everything, and then we go into the ghost hunt and everything. And that's something that I've wanted to do since I started this. And I remember somebody, and I don't remember who it was, told me that, you might not get anything tonight. You might not experience anything. It doesn't always happen to everybody. I'm like, that's fine. I didn't expect it to. I'm just, happy I'm here, and I want to try it and stuff. So I had my little cat balls going, and I think that might have been all I have in my camera, and a movie camera. So, and actually I did a live show from that building that night. It was a Saturday night, and I did a live show from there, and I had a couple people with their cameras going through the building and everything. And that was the first thing that happened. We sat down, somebody was walking through, we had them on the screen, somebody was walking through, and all of a sudden there's nobody in this big room where Krista and I were set up. We're set up at a table in a hallway, and all of a sudden a pebble hit the wall next to us. And I'm like, did you throw that? She's like, no, did you throw that? There's no one else in the room. So we had that encounter right off the bat. And this was even before we started investigating. Then once we started investigating, it was maybe 20 people were there with us. And two of us had never investigated before, me and one of Krista's friends, who unfortunately is now deceased. So we're walking through this place, and her and I were just walking, and we looked at each other like, is it odd that they let the two newbies go by themselves? We're going to die tonight, aren't we? So we didn't, obviously. Well, yeah. We went down to this boiler room. The place used to be a poorhouse. Poor farm, where people would live and, work on the farm, and that's how they lived there. So we're in this boiler room, and supposedly there's a spirit down there that doesn't like women being around. So there's like 4 or 5 steps going down to the boiler room, and from this little room. She stayed up in the room because I kept saying, I don't want to agitate this guy down here if he's down here and bringing you down here. So if you don't mind, just, stay up there, and, I'll go down there and see what's going on. So I walked down there. We had the dead bell going. It kept ringing here and there. And then, so it's a big boiler room, I'd say about 20 yards long. And then there was another small room past that. And I kept hearing things in that other room back there. So I kind of walked slowly down there, didn't really see anything. And as I'm walking back, I'm asking questions. Is anybody else here? Do you not like us being here? We heard a couple knocks and stuff. And, I'm recording this whole thing, but you can still hear people in other rooms. It's not that big of a place, and it kind of echoes a little bit. So as I'm wrapping it up, I'm walking back up the stairs, and we didn't hear this at all. We didn't hear anything, any EVPs or anything come through. It wasn't until I was back at home just reviewing all the footage. All of a sudden, as I'm walking up the steps, I hear, "We're watching," in a really creepy whisper voice. And I'm like, holy crap. So I quick got on the phone with Chris. I'm like, you'll never guess what I captured at Ashmore. And I sent her the clip and everything. And she's like, that's pretty impressive. So, it was cool. The first thing that happened there. And I think somebody else said, if you feel like you're walking through a spider web in the building, it's not a spider web, it's a spirit. That happened to me. I'm like, oh, wait, that's disgusting. Walking through spirit or whatever. But it was a fun night. I used the dead bell a lot. I was in one room, asking the questions, do you like us being here? Do you want us to leave? And the second I said, do you want us to leave, the dead bell went off. I'm like, okay, see ya. Grabbed a thing and we left. But yeah, that was the first one. And that was a blast. I actually, we were doing the Estes method there too. And something, you're going to love this one. And I'm not even sure why I'm going to tell you this, because you're going to use this as ammo against me. It said somebody was under it and they said, Paranormal Paul. I'm like, oh God, what now? You're the greatest ever. No, it's not what I said. No, they said, you're boring.
Just let me flex my muscles here.
So, there's that, but yeah, it was a fun night. We had some things happen, but definitely the EVP that we caught on camera was the best part of it.
So the fact that it was your first investigation, the anticipation is going to be, oh, I'm going on a paranormal investigation. So you hope something cool happens. Mm-hmm. In your example, something cool did happen. Mm-hmm. So how does your thought process work afterwards compared to, well, I'm not quite sure what to expect?
I kept thinking, my God, this happened the first time. It's going to happen every single time I go. And a couple times after that, I went to places and nothing really happened and stuff. Certainly nothing of that magnitude. I, heard knocks and stuff. But yeah, it's, I still kept in the back of my mind as we did more investigations and stuff, like, you don't always get stuff. So, the ones that followed Ashmore, I never went into it and thinking, okay, this is going to be great. I'm going to have all kinds of activity just because the first one was so active. I'm like, we'll see how it goes. And, if we capture stuff, we do. If we don't, we don't. I'm not going to be upset. But, I kind of like it to getting tattoos or something. Once you get one, you're addicted. And, once you do one ghost hunt, and I don't like calling it a ghost hunt because they're all around us. So it's really like an investigation.
Yeah.
You want to do more. You want to find out more, and you want to communicate more with the other side. And I think that's the cool part. That's what I love doing.
Yeah, and just to correct you with regard to tattoos, got one. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm the weird one out the bunch. But yeah, it's interesting, the way that you just said that, because for my very first one that I did in Canada, we was at a jail, and I went off by myself, and I'm in the wing that's called the Hell's Angel wing for obvious reasons. And I'm doing all the normal spiel. Is there anybody here? Blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I said, if you want to make a noise, make a sound, I would really appreciate that. And as soon as I said the word that, I heard a
wow,
like a double breath. But I did not hear it at the time. I heard it on review like what you did. And I'm like, no, play back, double breath. And because I've got a medical background, I know how people breathe normally. I know how people breathe when they're ill. But this was me talking, I stopped, and then I heard a double breath. So I sent it to the guys, and they went, "Oh, that's a really good EVP." I then sent it to my buddy who got me the mic and the computer. He knows a little bit more into the audio, and he's like, he broke it down. Okay, this is my voice wave. This is your voice wave. This is me banging on a table. And this is what you heard. And it was a completely different voice wave. And it's like, what more evidence do you need?
Right.
And the closest person was maybe 60 feet away. So there's no way that if they breathe, I'm going to hear them.
Right. Exactly.
So, and that was my first one in Canada. And it was like, if I'm getting this kind of cool stuff, what else am I gonna like discover?
Exactly.
And that's the fun part. But I totally agree with what you say about ghost hunt into comparison to paranormal investigator, because I consider ghost hunters as those people that want to go out on a weekend and get scared, compared to the paranormal investigators that want to find out the truth.
Right.
And that's the way that I differentiate between the two.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we want to find out who's here still, what keeps them here, that kind of thing. So yeah, I agree with that.
Exactly. So I know that you sent me a little bit of a bio, so I want to dig into that a little bit, because some of your investigations, and I quote, brought unsettling experiences. So I'd like to ask you about the scratches first.
Okay. Oh, that was okay.
I'm going to bitch slap you so hard. What's your address again?
So we were at this place in Richmond, Missouri, which is out near Kansas City, Missouri, on the other side of the state from me, called the Ray County Museum. And we go there quite a bit. I've been there like 4 or 5 times. The curator there is absolutely fantastic. She lets us, come and go whenever we want to. And she's just a wonderful human being. We love raising money. We did a conference out there last year, and we raised a bunch of money for the museum. So that's the kind of person that she is that we want to help with. But the first or second time I was there, I think it was the second time I was there. And this building is shaped kind of in a Y, is 2 floors plus a basement, and I think there's like 56, 58 rooms, something like that, and they're all like different themed. Civil War room, Indian artifacts, Desert Storm, World War II, World War I, Black History Museum or room, and all kinds of kitchen, all kinds of other rooms in there, plus the basement that is creepy as hell. Jail cells and everything in there. So, and every 3 of the hallways are perfectly fine. You walk down the hallway, you don't sense anything different, anything dark, anything negative, nothing. It's just like walking down a hallway normally. The one floor, the top floor on the left side, I believe, looking at the building, you walk, once you cross, and I get goosebumps every time I talk about this. Every time you walk over the threshold of the hallway, there's like a little atrium in the middle of the building on both floors. The second you walk across that threshold, never mind, there's mannequins lining the hallway that if you forget that they're there in the dark and you bump into one of these things, you poop in your pants. It's a completely different vibe going down there. And nothing there is demonic. It's just kind of negative or goofy, wonky, some people say. So, and one of the rooms down there is a Civil War room. Across from that room is the Indian artifact room. So we were in there one night in the Civil War room. There's 3 of us there. I was kind of in the corner, and then there was one maybe 6 feet away, another 6 feet over here. And we were doing, we had the spirit box going, and we're talking with a guy, a spirit in there that likes to open and close little cabinet doors, one of those little box cabinet doors about that big. And on our initial walk through, because there are people that had never been there before, I opened that cabinet door just to, see if it would close during the night. And it never did. And we were in there about 12 o'clock or something. And we were all 3 sitting there. We were asking questions and stuff. And I said, if the spirit's in here that likes open and close doors, would you mind closing that door for me? I asked it like 2 times and we didn't get anything. And then I asked it like a 3rd or 4th time. And the voice came over the EVP or the spirit box, and it said, no, get out. And I'm like, no, I really want you to close that door, and then we'll leave. And this went on like 3 or 4 times. And looking back, I should have done this different. But after the third or 4th time, I said, no, I really want you to do this, and then we'll leave. The guy that was sitting over here looked past me, and behind me, there was display cases where it was like a glass top, but there were just long legs underneath it. There was nothing there. You could see the back wall, and I think there was a floor furnace or something like that down there. So I said, oh, look, there's a white mist going under there. And I'm like, I didn't see it. But as I'm looking, all of a sudden something cool passes my right side and I had shorts on. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And as I looked down, I had scratch marks going up my leg. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get out of here. So, thinking back, I don't like to antagonize these ghosts. This is their building. We shouldn't be doing that. So what I really think happened is that this spirit was not doing what I was asking, because it was his room, his building. He's in charge, or this spirit's in charge. This is your warning before we get crazy. Here's your scratch. Now get the F out of the room. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this. And then, I've been back in there. And the funny thing is, we're in the room. I was with a medium at the time, and I'm asking questions, and I'm like, is the spirit that scratched me whenever, are you in the room? And we got, yep, I'm right here. So, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I apologized to the spirit and everything. And then I just walked out of the room. So, but yeah, I think that was definitely the spirit saying, we're in control here. You're in our space. You do what we say. When we don't want to do that, you get out or you stop or whatever. So that's, yeah.
And I was talking to a guy at work today, and it's sort of like, what you have to realize is, if these spirits are still earthbound, they lived there before you investigated there. So you're intruding into your property. If us as living beings had an intruder, we would do everything in our power to get rid of that person. So why should the spirits be any different?
Exactly. And, ever since then, I'm like, okay, you don't go into somebody's house and start demanding all kinds of things and expect to be, respected or given those things. You have to ask. You don't barge into people's houses. You have to, hey, you mind if I come in? And ever since then, I'm like, walking into a place, thank you so much for letting us come in here and investigate and communicate with you. We mean no harm at all. We just want to communicate with everybody that's in here and trying to learn things from you. Never, we're going to clear you. We're never going to harm you in any way or whatever. So, we're from that point on, I, for one, have been more respectful to all the spirits that we encounter. So that was lesson learned. So.
Yeah, and that's it. And respect is absolutely paramount. It's something that you have to do. Otherwise, you could regret it.
Yep, 100%.
So one of the things I want to mention, which is slightly going off tilt now, is the footprint. The 18-inch footprint that changed your path. Not literally.
Yes. No, yeah. So this was last September. And, before this, I knew Bigfoot was a thing. I believed it. I hadn't really ever gone into the woods and gone squatching or anything. I've talked to a lot of people who have, but I never really experienced anything. And we're at this place, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it when you were on my show, place called the Mayas Asylum, which is right up here about an hour away from me. And it has everything that a paranormal investigator would want. It has the haunted asylum, 3 or 4 buildings that are extremely haunted. It has 500 acres of woods around it that have cryptid activity in it. Every time we're there, we get something weird in the sky happening. So, it's like Skinwalker Ranch of Missouri, but not the Skinwalker Ranch of Missouri. But it was last September after our conference. We had some people that were with us that wanted to see it, that we brought them back from Richmond over to Marthasville, Missouri, which is real close to St. Louis here. And we wanted to investigate one night. So we did the tour, did the investigation at night. We got growled at and stuff in the basement of the admin building. And we had a good night. And then it was just a bunch of friends. A few of them stayed back at the Airbnb, which was across the street from the asylum. And, we sat outside, we were drinking, we were laughing, and just having a good old time with friends that we only get to see on camera and stuff. So just a fun night, and a great way to end a conference weekend that we did. So the next morning, everybody had left. Natalie and I stayed back. She needed to film some stuff over at the asylum for something. And so I'm kind of just walking around on the other side by the Airbnb, filming the woods a little bit. And I kept hearing like knocking and stuff. And to kind of set this up a little bit, there on the property, there used to be squatters that lived in like buses and campers and stuff, kind of back a little bit from the property. So I don't know if they were building something, but when you're hammering something, you're boom, 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 boom. This sounded boom, boom, boom. It had a rhythm to it. It had, it almost sounded like it was perfectly timed. So she finished her stuff, and we're like, you want to just kind of walk up to the woods, see what we can hear or see or anything. I was in shorts, and I think I had flip flops on. She had tennis shoes on, and we didn't really have equipment to go into the woods. So we're like, let's just kind of walk along the tree line. She'd been in the woods a lot before. So, I'm kind of following her lead, and we're getting up to the tree line, and I look down and I see like a broken egg, a small egg. I'm like, oh, is that an egg? And then we get a little closer and we see a footprint. Not really well defined, but we saw a little footprint. And then I look up about 6 feet away, and there was this big 18.5-inch print. And I'll send you the picture here. And we put her little foot next to it. I mean, little foot. So, I mean, it was a huge print. We kind of looked around in the woods, didn't see any structures. We couldn't go into the woods because we weren't dressed for it. But, we're going to go back in there and we're going to go camping in the woods and stuff and try and find the source of that. Krista's had howls that she's recorded there that she's sent off to people who say that, that's no wolf. That's no, what do we have here? That's no animal. That's something that we're not familiar with. So, and there's been dog van sightings in that area. There's been Bigfoot sightings in that area. So there's a lot of high strangeness out there. And, again, just like the first investigation that I did where I found something, I wasn't even trying to find this. And I found a 18.5-inch print and another print that we couldn't really get a good picture of. I just wish we had plaster and stuff that we could have cast it, but again, we didn't have anything. So
that's pretty cool. And I always find it quite funny when you see some of these TV shows and you get these investigators, trackers, whatever you want to call them, and they try to mimic the call. And I always think to myself, what would you do if you're mimicking that call and then a big 8-foot Bigfoot comes running out with a massive hard-on? Like, what the hell are you going to do next?
You rang?
Yeah, exactly.
It comes out of the woods. How you doing?
Yeah. It's like, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah. That's just crazy. Yeah, but we didn't do that and stuff. But and the scary thing was that was where we found the print was probably about 20 yards from where we stayed, from the back of our Airbnb. So that was kind of freaky.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
And the night before we were seeing like white lights in the trees and stuff, and they're high up. I mean, there was a road behind one point behind the trees, but it was higher up, and car headlights don't just sit there and then go off and then go on in another spot.
Yeah. So. And that's one of the things, like, I've got a military background as well. So for people to see lights in the sky, you can see a white light and then it disappears. But because I used to work around aircraft, if the aircraft's flying straight towards you and then banks, it's going to disappear. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had a bit of a logical head-on with regard to what lights in the sky and what they could be. But there is so many different formats of different lights, different colors. They're not all aircraft. They're not drones. They're not Chinese lanterns.
Right. And with the aircraft, when they're banking one way or the other, you're going to see the light kind of turn with it. And a lot of times when you see these unidentified objects in the sky, it's going straight at you, and then boom, it's gone, or it's standing there, and then boom, it's you see it kind of back off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, and that's what I enjoy about doing what we do, because there is so many things that we cannot explain. Yet unfortunately, there's no definitive science behind what we do, because we can't catch a Bigfoot, we can't catch an alien, we can't catch a goat and stick it in a laboratory like the scientists want. But there's so much unexplained evidence out there that, like, what is it? I don't know. I know what it isn't, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And that, that's where I'm always leery about, people who call themselves experts in this field. I mean, we don't know. Everything that we're coming up with is an educated guess. Thing is, we know for a fact there's Bigfoot. I've seen it. I've touched one. No, you haven't. But it's there's no experts. It's just people that have been out there, have more experience than others do, but not experts.
So let's just go back towards Paranormal Among Us for a while. I think I may have touched on it on your show, but do you have one particular guest or one particular story that completely blew your mind, and when that person finished telling that story, you just kind of went, wow, and you kind of lost your train of thought, you didn't know what to say next?
Yeah. I've have many guests that have incredible stories, and I don't want to diminish anybody else's story. And that's another thing. I'm never gonna go on a show, and as somebody's telling me a story, I'm never gonna say, no, that didn't happen, you're wrong.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
But a lot of great stories. This one story is a guy, his name is Ernie Davio. He lives up east. I believe this took place in Maryland, but he was telling me his Bigfoot encounter. And long story short, with that, he was hunting deer at the time, and he was on like a hill going downhill, and he saw an object on his left, kind of by a tree, sitting down. And then he also heard something. There was like a rock formation or something, or trees or something that he couldn't see on the other side of, but he heard something. He knew there was some kind of deer or wildlife activity over there. So he's coming down this hill or ridge, and he sees something on his left side, and he's pointing his gun at it. And he thinks it's like a deer or an animal laying on the ground, but it didn't see him at first. So he's walking down, and he kind of stops. And then this being looks over and sees him and starts to stand up. And again, Ernie had his gun at him, his rifle. And as it's standing up, it's not a deer, it's not an elk. It is super tall. I think he said it was about 7-8 foot tall. By the time that this was all said and done, he went over to the tree and kind of measured it. But it just kind of stood there and stared at him. It never approached him. It never did any howling or infrasound or anything at him. It just kind of stood there, and they kind of looked at each other for the longest time. And he still heard this commotion on the other side of whatever was on the right side of him. And I'm kind of messing this up a little bit. It's his story. I'm not doing it justice, but you need to have him on and talk about this. But he eventually, the thing kind of came towards him and held his hands out to say, like, look, I come in peace. I'm fine. I'm not going to hurt you. You're okay. And he ended up lowering his gun, and they just kind of stood there and looked at each other for a few moments. And then all of a sudden, two other ones, Bigfoot, come down the hill into the clearing, and they see Ernie up at the top of the hill. And the one that's, I guess, with him or whatever, it starts screaming at the other two, and then they just kind of take off, almost like they were saying, like, this guy's okay. He's not worried. We're not here to harm him or anything. We're just, get out. We're done here. So he eventually went down and around the thing and found that the two of the Bigfoot got his deer that was over there, and that Ernie was hunting. And apparently they were doing the same thing. They were going to flush it down into the meadow or whatever, and this other one was going to, I guess, corner it and trap it. So I don't know if this one, saved Ernie from being mauled by the other two or what, but I just thought that was a fantastic story. Pretty damn unbelievable. I mean, if I hadn't heard his story several times, almost, I mean, it was the exact same thing every time. And, he didn't hesitate. He didn't change major details on it. That to me, he was telling the truth 100%. That's what he saw. And again, even if I didn't believe it, I'm not going to, say, dude, you were stoned or whatever at the time. You didn't see that. Nothing. No, that's not me.
And one of the things that I found during my career, I've been trained how to do proper interviews with people.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell when people are lying because of the body language. And to be a good liar, to be a good liar, you've got to have a very good memory.
Mm-hmm.
Because doing these interview techniques, you will ask the same question, but you'll change the way you ask it. So it sounds like it's a different question, but it's exactly the same question.
Right.
And if you get a different answer, you know that something's not right. But like you say, just because you and I weren't there, we can never ever say it did not happen.
100%.
Yeah, and I've had some guys. One of the guys interviewed, he saw a youngster, dogman or Bigfoot, whichever it was, and he actually threw it a fish. It grabbed it, turned around and walked to its parents.
Oh, wow.
And stood watching, and it's like, wow. And it's like, I want to be in that situation where I see something like that, because it would be such a cool experience to have. Yeah, if you got somebody with you, even better, because two witnesses are better than one. But even if you just experience it by yourself, to have that moment between between you and this creature, whatever it is, it's got to be amazing. It's got to be life changing.
Yeah, it's we were kind of talking about this on the last show that I did. Would you rather have an encounter with a Bigfoot or a dog man? Like, well, I think it would be. I'd rather have a Bigfoot encounter, because from what I've heard about dogmen, that you ain't going to be around if you're too close to them after that. So it's kind of one of those things. Yeah, I want to see one of these things, but I don't want to get too close. I want to come back. I want to see another one. But yeah, it's that would certainly be cool.
So it's the same when you're doing paranormal investigation. Yeah. You ask the spirit or whatever it is to make a noise. When it makes a noise, people scream and run out. It's like, dude, you asked me to make a noise. I've made a noise.
Yeah.
And now you've left? Come on.
That's why I don't like watching the investigations on TV shows or anything anymore, because they over exaggerate everything. It's hyped up for ratings and stuff. They go screaming out of the room when they hear a knock or whatever, or if something brushes up against their arm or whatever, they go flying out of the room. They go freaking out. The YouTube investigations, whoever you follow or whatever, watch them, and they're more down to earth. I mean, not that the TV shows don't know what they're doing, but the YouTube ones, they don't freak out like the TV ones do. They oh, something just grabbed my arm. What the hell was that? Kind of thing. And did you hear that knock? What was that? And they kind of investigate it more instead of running out of the room and getting away from it. So.
That's it, and you kind of have the director or producer behind you going, "Oh, that was cool. Can you get them to do it again? Because we didn't quite get the right angle." It's not like, oh, come on, they're not performing monkeys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, with all your experiences with investigating and doing the Paranormal Among Us, 2025, you decided to go down a different road and start writing. How's that going for you?
Well, I kind of stalled for a while, but I've done like 3 short stories, and it's actually kind of fun, and it's kind of weird. And I always say, these are nonfiction things, but everything that I do and experience and I talk about on the show, that's all true. I'm not making things up or anything except in my writings and stuff. So, I've done some that are, the one I did was an actual encounter that I had when I was I guess early 20s or whatever. Four of us went to this place in the town that I live in, or we worked in, and it looked like the Devil's House. And we drove there after work, and that's the story that I made. I changed the names and everything, and I couldn't remember exactly where this place was, so I'm making up streets and stuff. So, but and I made up the encounter and stuff. But it's kind of fun to kind of let my imagination go a little bit and do stuff like that. And then somebody that I've been sending these to kind of proofread and stuff suggested, why don't you either do like a book of short stories like this or start a novel? And I'm like a series and stuff, like, because I was kind of thinking that to begin with, that with these 4 friends that because I was part of that original group, that they kind of go around different locations and have different experiences, and each book is going to be one of their experiences. So, it's, life kind of got in the way, holidays got in the way, work got in the way and stuff. So I've kind of put that on hold for a little bit. But, I have one that's kind of started and that I need to start working on. I was actually thinking about that today, that, I need to start working on that a little bit more. But that's fun, kind of relaxing for me. But, the problem is I get going and I'm doing it all on my phone, and it's kind of hard to type with just your thumbs or whatever. So. But yeah, that's fun. I love doing that stuff too.
Yeah, because I've got a project that's ongoing, and one of the people that I interviewed, who's a author in her own right, but she's also a publisher, and she went, "Just goddamn send me it." So I was talking to a colleague at work, and so it said something that made me start thinking about it again. So when I got home that particular night, I opened it up again. I hadn't opened it up for a good couple of years. And I wrote a little bit more, and I went, okay, let's send it to her. Let's just see. So it's at that point now where she's reviewing it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when she comes back.
Yeah.
Right, my friend, we are coming towards the end, unfortunately.
All right.
Because you've been a pain in the arse all night.
I know. Just
for a change. But I do want to ask you about your dolls. A grown man having dolls in your room.
So, well, actually, these are all... hang on, let me get that off there. I can't see. So these are all my Halloween decorations. So they're technically not dolls.
But they are dolls.
Well, no. This is a doll.
That's a furry toy.
Yeah, it is kind of. But no, I mean, these lovely young ladies, they, kind of guard our house, September and October. Their eyes light up and everything. But I think they stopped working because I had batteries in them, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to have them light up. One of them talks a lot, and she's really loud, and her head moves. So I figured that would be kind of a distraction on the live show. But at one point, somebody thought that the blonde, that one, if you can't tell which one's blonde, I mean, one's jet black. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever done. One of them, how did this get here? Oh, that's weird. So this is a one of those twist ties, and it's right in front of my keyboard, and I could have swore there was nothing there before. Because I fidget and I kind of rub the table, and I know this wasn't there, but that's bizarre.
That's weird.
I don't know where that came from. Holy cow. But anyway, the blonde, somebody said the blonde moved. Her head moved a little bit during one of the shows. So I put a cat ball up there, and I haven't gotten anything since. And these guys over here, they're just, skulls.
Self-portraits.
Yeah, self-portraits. They're not real skulls.
Okay, I'll believe you.
Because if this would have been here the whole show, I would have been playing with it all night. That's bizarre.
And that would have been even more frustrating than you keep tilting your...
I have a Hot Wheel that I kind of play with too a little bit while I'm talking.
Actually, so do I. So, where can people find you, my friend?
My picture is up in the post office walls around town. So if you see me, there's a big reward. No, YouTube under Paranormal Among Us. I'm on Facebook. I'll send you the links and everything for that. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the fun places. And the podcast goes out to Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, all the I think Spotify, all the fun places that you get your podcast. So I'm around.
So you're around or you're round is what you just said. So.
I'm wherever podcasts are found. I forgot who I was talking to for a second.
Exactly. I'm not going to give you an inch, my friend.
That's what she said.
Shut up. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've had a great fun. I know that we've got something in the pipeline, and if I haven't told you, the boys are up for it. That's all I'm going to say right now. that will be complete mayhem with 5 of
will.
us being.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, especially if it's on a Tuesday. I mean, it might have to be on a Saturday for a special recording for one of the guys, but we'll see. So we'll make it work. Two of the guys. But
yeah,
Tommy, the one guy, he lives on Eastern time anyway. So I've had him on my show on a Wednesday night. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, like this time of night, he's just weird though.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Paul, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
It has.
I'm really glad that we've bumped into each other in a strange way.
Yeah, me too.
For now, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I'm going to go get some aspirin.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And alcohol. You need plenty of it, mate. Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Paranormal Prism with me.
Thank for watching Paranormal Prism with me.
Whoa, what was that?
Hold on. Is that? Are you the spirit from the prism? We are always. This is exactly what we investigated. Oh, incredible.